This video tutorial covers the interview tabs, basically how to conduct the interviews, how to enter the data into the data collection sheets, and lastly how to consolidate different workbooks into a single workbook so that you can analyze all the data in one place. So the first thing we do is to look at the model structure here. We have 10 interview tabs. These are the interview worksheets used to collect information from individuals. The second thing we do is to look at the detailed instructions again and follow the instructions. We find the interview tabs here. We have 4 different areas in the tab. We have a short summary, we have general data, we have receipts, and we have payments. So if we just proceed to looking at the interviews now. So what we have here is the short summary. Here you can enter any information about the interviewee and the environment in which the interview took place, and or any other information that you want to cover. Here in the general data area, you have the name and location. So you put the interviewee's name here, where the interview took place. You have gender, you have the interviewee's phone number, farm size, and of which coffee. So that's let's say if the farm size is 4 acres, then you ask the farmer out of those 4 acres, how many acres are you using to grow coffee. You have age, marital status, that's a drop down. So you can have married, you can have single, divorced, or widow. Children, how many children do they have? And here we get to the interesting part, which is the value of risk. So the way we asked this question was to first collect all the data here and the receipts and the payment categories, and then we asked them about the biggest payment that they received during the year. So let's say that payment happened in May, and that was, let's say, 1 million shillings. So these numbers are in thousands of Ugandan shillings. So if you put 1,000 here, that means 1 million. So we would ask the farmer, okay, your largest transaction during the year is 1 million. How much would you be willing to pay for insurance to be able to get that 1 million shilling payment safely to your home? So you would put 1 million here, and then let's imagine the farmer answers, I would be willing to pay 2,000. So that one is fed into the model in the analysis tab, which we will get into in the next video, and it's a pretty important variable in the cost of cash. The next thing here, this is a white cell, which means that it has a formula that should not be edited. This is the cost of time for that interviewee. So the way that one is calculated, it looks at U13, which is here. So that's basically the total amount that the interviewee receives over the course of the year, divided by 52 weeks, 6 days a week, 8 hours a day. So basically this is the cost of time per hour, how much the interviewee makes per hour, assuming that the income is uniform over the course of the year, which of course it is not, but this is the way it is calculated in this model. So the next question here, what are the benefits slash costs slash risks related to cash payments? So this is just some qualitative questions right here. They can be changed depending on what sort of project you're looking into, what sort of research you're doing. These are the questions that we chose to ask just to be able to feed some qualitative data into our analysis. So the second question is, have you ever heard of mobile money? Do you use it regularly? So having a short conversation about that and basically writing down the answers here. The third one, do you think mobile money would be a good way to get paid? And then asking some follow-up questions related to whatever it is that their answer is. What would the main benefits of mobile money payments be? What would the main disadvantages be? So now we get to the receipts and payments. So if we just go through one row here, so the first thing to ask is how are you currently paid for your coffee? So it could be cash, it could be a bank transfer, could be mobile money, or could be a mix of mobile money and cash. The second thing to discuss with the farmer would be where do you sell your coffee? So you put the location here. How much does it cost you to get there one way? Sometimes it can be more expensive to get there than it is to get back, in which case we would just take the average. So we would usually ask them how much does it cost to get there both ways, and then divide that number by 2. The reason why it can be more expensive to get there is that sometimes they have to transport the coffee, and that can be more expensive due to the weight of the coffee. For example, if they're taking boda boda, which is a motorcycle taxi in Uganda. So travel time is next. How long does it take you to get there? You can put that in minutes. Then you have the average value per transaction. This is a white cell, so that's a formula here that you don't have to input anything. Then we get to the month-by-month breakdown. So we would ask the farmer, how much coffee did you sell in January? How much did you get paid for that coffee in January? So the answers here, of course, depend on the interviewee, whether or not they can actually remember how much they got in January. We're actually pretty surprised to see that for pretty much any receipt or payment, they were able to figure out relatively easily how much they were paying or how much they were getting for each category. Their economic behavior was not that complicated usually. I mean, they were not engaged in that many sales and purchases throughout the year, and it was usually they were usually doing similar things every month. For example, when it comes to buying food or selling milk or things like that, there's not huge variation month by month in those categories, so it was relatively easy to estimate with them how much they are buying or selling in any given month. So going through this month by month, imagining that the coffee season would start in January, it would usually maybe start small. I would get 200,000 shillings here, it would rise to 400,000, then I would maybe get 800,000, and then it would peak at, let's say, 1.2 million shillings, and then it would go down usually pretty fast down to 400,000. So the yearly balance, assuming there's nothing more, they wouldn't sell more coffee in June, and for the rest of the year the yearly balance here is 3,000. So then it's just a matter of completing this for every single category. And if we just look at our sheet here, the data we collected, so this is what it would look like in the end with everything filled. So going back to the data collection sheet, so the way it works is that you could print these sheets on A4 papers, give them out to enumerators, and then maybe one person would be responsible for entering all the data from the papers into these data collection workbooks. Now each workbook can only handle 10 answers. So if you have more than 10 respondents, which are quite likely to do if you want reliable results, then you will have to fill in 10 responses per workbook, and then after that use the consolidation workbook to consolidate the data from all the different workbooks. So if we just open up the consolidation workbook, the first thing to do is to look at the instructions on the cover page. The first tab here we see in red. It's important that the information in the model setup is the same for all the different data collection sheets that you're using. So if you provide, for example, if you go to the model setup here, and let's say that coffee sales is number 1 on one set of interview sheets, and then if it were number 2 on another set of interview sheets, then the data would become mixed up. So it's important that it's the same order in every set of interview sheets and that the same information is provided here. Basically, in general, it should be the same model setup for all the interview sheets. Now the next thing to look at is the tabs here. So what we do is we go to the analysis worksheet on individual models and copy all the cells from A4 to AK337 on the analysis tab. So if we just go to the data collection sheet here, look at the analysis tab, so that would be from here and all the way down to here. Copy everything, and then the next thing to do is to paste as values in the corresponding area on the selected set, S1 to S10. So S in this case stands for set in the consolidation model. So we are in the consolidation workbook. So this would be our first set. Then we would paste everything here and make sure to paste it as values, and then all the data would come in here as one single set. So for the second set, you just put that under S2, and that is that. So the next thing you'll notice in red here is under the dashboard tab. So there are a couple more things here that we have to copy. This is done in order to make sure that each interview set has the correct weight. So we have to weight the averages. We have to weigh the averages from the different sets in order to make sure that, for example, if we have only 5 interviewees in set 1 and then we have 10 interviewees in set 2, we have to make sure that the correct weight is assigned to each set so that the averages are calculated correctly in the analysis tab. So the next thing to do would be go to the dashboard worksheet on the individual models, copy cells from AB8 to 18 and then from AB23 to 25. So if we just go to the data collection workbook, go to dashboards, we can see those here. So we would have to copy this one. We have to go back to the consolidation workbook, to go to the dashboards here and paste them as values in the correct set. Then the second one is located here. Also have to copy this one and then paste it in the consolidation workbook right here. And then do this for every single set, and that is it.